We're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minutes!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minutes and... No, Bat Minute of the Phantasm. I knew I was going to mess that up eventually.
I've been waiting for it, yes.
This is the podcast where we do some political gerrymandering around the topic of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here, podcasting at their deadliest and sexiest, it is I, your other host, John Parker.
That would have been great too, but like, it's vigilantism as its deadliest, just turns the camera, and sexiest. It's like, I don't like his actions, but I ain't got a problem with the guy. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's a nice outfit.
It's underpants on the outside. I mean, mwah. But oh yes, of course. Also, we're here to once again joined the final time this week by a friend of the show, Claire York.
Hello.
Yay.
Whoop.
And yeah, just to jump on in here, we're here to talk about minute 6, which begins with a flabbergasted public servant, and it ends a minute later with a befuddled manservant. So many things happen in this minute. It's crazy. Like, it seems like it's just like there's not really much going on, but like for our purposes particularly, I know it might not mean all that much to you, Claire, because you're not hosted. How many episodes are we on now? Like 500 plus or something? But like,
it's got to be. Actually, you know what? Live on air, I'm going to give you the exact reading, not including any of this season so far. So our main show has 718 episodes.
Woo!
Yowza.
Yeah. And after all that time, within this minute, we get our first new Commissioner Gordon, our first new Alfred. We get the first glimpse of Harvey Bullock. We get Summer Gleason. We get friggin' Arthur Reeves, obviously a bigger character in this just within the movie, to be fair. And we actually get the first instance of Kevin Conroy actually stepping in here. We saw Batman in drawn animated form, but this you get his voice for the first time this minute as well. And it's just like it's a lot happening. It's like to establish new characters, new voice actors, new everything. It's just like, holy Christ, there's a lot going on. But
the Kevin Conroy thing's fascinating for me because my main association for him is the games. Like, we've done 1 or 2 animated things, but so I'm like, oh, that's the guy from the game.
Yeah. I think that's what made those games so successful. Was just like, well, they got in the proper guy. They got in. They got in Batman. They got in the Joker as well. Like, it's not just any old willy-nilly. And then even in like Arkham Origins, where they didn't get them in, it was people kind of blatantly doing like an impersonation of them. So,
is that better or worse? What would you rather have? Would you rather have a different take, or considering it's a prequel, just what they went with, like an impersonation?
No, I was happy enough to kind of keep it in continuity, just to be like, just make believe that it's the same. So my only beef with it was that they said I think they said like, oh, it's 5 years before Arkham Asylum. I was like, 5 years? I thought it was like 20 years. Like, what the hell? All it happens in the space of 5 years? No. It's gotta be way longer.
That's always the problem with Batman, though. It never seems to make sense, the length of time he's been Batman.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. And then we try to work in like sometimes have Batgirl. Oh, I was a little girl when Jim Gordon would tell me about Batman, and then other times she's working as Oracle, and it's like, well, is Batman's what age is he supposed to be then? Like, how long has he been going? Like, what is this? Like, yeah. And then all the Robins trying to work out the ages there. It's just like, no. I'm sure someone out there has worked out a definitive timeline. I'm sure, but then it'll change with every continuity. It'll change with ever. They'll just have to rework it because it just is. It is what it is. Whatever the writers need it to be. But
yeah. Well, you brought up this character as well because we see Batman staring at the sky, and then we cut to the councilman Arthur Reeves.
Yeah,
I found quite interesting to the point where I looked up the actor. So I'm sure you've done that.
Oh, okay. Do you know who this is, Claire? The actor playing Councilman Reeves?
Yeah, it's Hart Bochner. Is that how you say it?
I think so. Let's hope so.
What a cool as hell name that is. Hart Bochner.
And I was like, yay, when I saw it was him, because obviously he's in Die Hard.
Yeah.
When I was, because as I, always do on this show, I wrote down a bunch of things he was in, and Die Hard, of course, was the main one there.
That's. But
he's been in a few things, like Supergirl.
I was going to say, and I used to love that film as a kid. I know that it's not necessarily that popular, but as a child, I was all over that. Maybe because it was the Supergirl. But I was all over that film as a child.
I liked it back in the day. I mean, again, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. Maybe if I watched it now, I'll be like, oh God. But as a kid, it was great.
That's always kind of like, because I was actually just last night rewatching The Legend of Billie Jean, which is Helen Slater, Supergirl herself. I was just like, it's a shame her career just didn't. She's so good in that movie. She's so good as Supergirl.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, it was weird in that movie too. They cast Christian Slater as her brother, but they're not real brothers. So they're not real siblings. And it's just like, is it just because of the Slater? Is that what did you just like? But one of the things she did later in her career was, of course, voiced Talia al Ghul in the Batman animated series as well. So she didn't disappear altogether. But
I like it when there's connections like that. Like Hart Bochner here being in other DC things, but it doesn't feel like in the modern day where you work for Marvel, so you're tied down.
Yeah. But I loved it because one of the most iconic lines, of course, from Hart Bochner played Ellis. People don't know he's in Die Hard. He's Ellis. He's the guy. Hans, Bubby, I'm your white knight. Like,
didn't we have that minute when we did Die Hard?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
All those years ago.
Yeah, because Dark Knight, White Knight, everything's connected. But he's so good in that movie. He's such an oily, despicable, hateful asshole. I think I hate him. I hate him and I love him so much. And that's the thing too, because Arthur Reeves is based on DC character. We'll also delve into much more of his storylines as we go. But like, appears first, created by Denny O'Neil. Appeared in like the early '70s in Batman 234. In Half an Evil, which is just a very basic Two-Face story. But like, he's very, in the comics, he's like a rail thin, kind of wrinkly, middle-aged man who's a bit prissy and very fussy. He's like, I just really hate Batman. Like he's very, very worked up. And the blending of making him, no, let's make him more like Ellis in Die Hard and make it really sleazy. He's a young up-and-coming politician. He's doing this entirely for political gain. Like, you don't even know if he really believes what he's saying about Batman, but he's like, I got these, much like happens in politics, much like we've seen in recent history, targeting a certain demographic and been like, I'll just say everything they want me to say, so then I'll get a vote. And so there's people in this town hate Batman. I'm gonna be the guy who says that, and then they'll usher me into office and stuff. And again, I love the fact that they're leaning on him being like, well, it's that guy from Die Hard who was like an oily, sleazy, yuppie guy who wanted to work his way up and thought he could play the system, thought he was much cleverer than he was, and then ended up getting, friggin' Alan Rickman shooting him in the face, because he didn't actually know what he was doing.
Exactly. Even when he's been told, no, don't bloody, stop. I don't know. Don't say you know me. Say you don't know me. Say you don't know me. No. Yeah.
And then it's just, in this movie, he's just like the Joker showing up and he's just like, oh, what an asshole. And then, of course, what happens to him happens to him. And it's just like, I can't wait to get that scene. I love what happens to Arthur Reeves.
That bit is great.
Yeah. So atmospherically.
Well, it won't be that long because it's not a long movie.
Yeah. But that's such a good scene.
He's in a few other things. Like, I've never seen this movie, but I was always like kind of scared of the cover, Bulworth.
Oh, Bulworth.
No, but the cover's like it's like the big mouth open and the guy climbing out of it. And I was always like, what the hell? And I know it's not a creepy movie. It's like a political thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's
but it's just that box in the VHS, in the Blockbuster or whatever. I was like, what the hell's this?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I've seen Bulworth years ago. I remember quite enjoying it. It does have Bat-Minute linchpin Warren Beatty as he's the main character. We brought Warren Beatty up so many times on the show. And there he is again, attaching himself. But
because everything's connected.
Yeah. And he raps in the movie. He's just like a lame politician trying to get in with the kids. But the Ghetto Superstar, the song Ghetto Superstar.
Wait, is it from that?
That's the spin-off single, The Bulworth.
What?
Yeah, and Warren Beatty's in the video. Like, it's crazy.
I don't remember that at all. That's insane.
I remember that song coming out, but I don't remember the connection there.
No, that's bonkers.
Also, it's in the video. Warren Beatty comes up the podium, and he actually he pulls like in a kind of Mission Impossible-esque way, pulls his mouth open to reveal that it was a mask, and it's the guy. I'm sorry, I can't remember the other guy from the Fugees, who's not Wycliffe. He's not Lauryn Hill.
Oh yeah, what was his name?
The other guy.
Oh, that's gonna bug me all day. I can't remember it.
Ghetto superstar. Pross.
Let's put Fugees.
Pross.
Is that it?
Is that how you pronounce it? Pross?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Pross. I thought you said Ross. I was like, no wonder I don't remember. Hey, this is Ross.
He was in the Fugees, remember?
He's Hart Bochner is also. I thought this was quite interesting. He's directed 7 episodes of NCIS New Orleans.
Oh, so close.
New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, so close to being with our boy, Chris O'Donnell, too.
Yeah. At first, I was like, oh, my God, they've... Oh, no. Because there's that many NCISs and CSIs and all kinds of stuff.
The word came out there recently, though. NCIS LA, it's ending. So Chris...
I mean, it's probably about time.
Yeah, because Chris O'Donnell now, he's just like, all right, I've got to go back on the job line, I guess.
When it was out for quite a while, considering it was a spin-off of something that's, already you'd think would be dead, although that's still going, isn't it? Original NCIS, I think, is still going.
Mm-hmm. And also, we have 2 cops up here too, defending Batman. Well, actually, one of them is defending Batman from Arthur Reeves' tirade against him, where basically he's saying that Batman, he killed somebody, he's as dangerous as all the criminals he puts away, and he's not the only person who thinks that other people, the police included. And I love that too. I just love the little subtle Harvey Bullock just puts up his collar to be like, don't he didn't expect to be in the scenario, but he knows now that he said that everyone's going to be taking pictures of him, and he's just like, oh Christ.
It's clever. He comes across as a very clever guy, actually. What's his name? Arthur.
Yeah.
Because, he says it's vigilantism at its deadliest, referring to Batman's actions.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's right in some ways. And that's how these corrupt people get away with it, right? They tell a half-truth and they twist actual facts. Because he's kind of right, okay, Batman's doing good, but should he be doing it? Legally.
Yeah. Ideally, you don't want that, do you? Because then it's not really following the... if someone's killed someone, if you haven't got the proof, you can't just go and beat him up and shove him in jail, can you? You have to actually prove things.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. And I think that's why this guy's clever, because he's corrupt and he's like, oh, well, I can use the truth that this is a slippery slope. I can twist it a bit. I can play on fears of it. Yeah.
He also has the thing too, it's true. Well, Batman, so we can trust him. But then he's got 5 other people with him now. He's got a Batgirl, and there was a Robin, and now there's a Nightwing, and there's another Robin, and then there's a friggin' Red Hood, and it's
getting worse.
How many of them can you trust? The more people you get involved, the more chances there are that someone's gonna go, become a loose cannon, basically.
Oh, well, that's exactly what this is, isn't it? It's that old trope. The Bat is a loose cannon.
Yeah. Up there, should also mention, too, up on the steps with them, because they have Gordon, Arthur Reeves himself, and Bullock amongst this, we'd find it's quite a small little press conference, really. I like to think this was actually set up by Reeves. He was waiting for Gordon and Bullock to come along. And he's just like, well, I need to get... So he probably had one guy there with a camera that he's hired.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I'll get them as they're going into City Hall or whatever. And then he just came up and he's just like, well, I heard about this. And you see how animated, quote, figuratively and literally. But he, when he's saying, he's a loose cannon, Commissioner, he's throwing his shoulders up. He's really he's very again, animated. He's properly just gesticulating wildly as he's talking and stuff. He's putting on a show, and some of the people in the crowd just look like they're randos. There's a person in the back just looks like it's a woman out doing her shopping or something. So he probably was
just people walking by.
It's not really a press conference either, is it? It's like a press conference. You've got a statement, You know, it's not like they're having a chat outside City Hall, but with loads of press there, which is how it comes across.
Yeah.
So that's why I do think it's a setup. You know, like he's invited the press along and he's caught them, and that's why he's so animated to kind of draw their attention in so that he can say all this stuff he wants to say about Batman.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
But I think, that's why at the end, too, he has a very dynamic way of posing, as he's making his final statements. It feels very rehearsed, and it's very much like, I need to get on the docket, so this is how I'm going to do it. Like, now that the controversy's occurred, I can launch my campaign on being anti-Batman. I'll get the commission, who everyone knows Commissioner Gordon's pro-Batman, but this guy isn't. And so if I get them in, if I have one person there with the camera filming, other people, the press will be like, "Oh Christ, get out the cameras, film this guy." And he's just properly playing to the mob. And so it's not an official conference by any means. He's just like, I've created it into a conference now, where I am just randomly stating these things from my soapbox right next to the police commissioner and stuff.
Well, and it does bring up an interesting debate about, like, justice and vigilantism, and whatnot, without boring kids. Because, Gordon, he's had enough of this. He says you can't blame Batman for what happened to Chucky Sol. Now, that's also true in a way, from a certain point of view, because if Sol wasn't committing the crime, then this wouldn't have happened. But Batman is still breaking the law. So it's like an interesting kind of, like debate. Like what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's a good way of approaching that without just making that a focal point and kids going, this is boring.
That's like, one half it's like, well, Saul shouldn't be doing the crime if he can't take the punishment. But also, like, if Batman hadn't broke it. But the thing is, because they don't know it's the Phantasm was done it. So it's like, well, it would have happened. Like, Batman had nothing to do with it. So it is kind of like...
But they don't know that, as you said. So
exactly. All they know is that people have seen Batman at the scene of the crime.
Yeah. But then how much influence is the Phantasm taking from Batman? And it's like, oh, that guy, like, I like that idea. I'll do that myself or whatever. So
Exactly. Yeah. There's lots of factors at play, and I love how it makes you think about them, but doesn't spend an hour on it.
Yeah. But should also mention, though, up on the steps with them is Summer Gleason, who's a recurring, major recurring character from the animated series. You see that, like, that ginger-haired lady next to them, who then promptly vanishes because they clearly forgot to put her in later animation cells. She's standing right next to them, and then like a couple of seconds in, she's not there anymore. Obviously, run off to friggin' maybe she just really had to go to the toilet or something, or she's just like, I gotta get this on sent to the boss or whatever because it's a hot scoop. But Summer Gleason, of course, the character created specifically for the animated series, actually. Basically, she was filling in for Vicky Vale. We probably did talk about her back in the first season because it was just an odd one of, like, much like where Carl Grissom was standing in for Rupert Thorne, and we're like, why don't we just use Rupert Thorne?
Oh yeah.
Should also mention too that Dick Miller was in a movie called The Grissom Gang. I meant to mention that and I forgot all about it. But yeah, so everything's connected. So they go the other way around. This is like, all right, so we've created this character called Summer Gleason. She's basically Vicky Vale. And it's like, so why don't you just use Vicky Vale? Like, she's a character. It's there. It's like, no, we got Summer Gleason. And then Summer Gleason doesn't really go on to be in, because Vicky Vale exists in the wider universe of Batman. No one's going, oh, use Summer Gleason in this comic. They're like, we already have that character. It's Vicky Vale. So, it's an odd one. But yeah, she's there. She's a character voiced by Mari Devon, who didn't do... She's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of voice roles.
Oh, wow.
But they're mostly English language redubs of anime. So,
well, that's a good gig if you can get it, though.
Yeah. Going through, though, I was like, I had not heard of most of these. Like 99.999% of them. The only thing she's in two things I'd had heard of. James Bond Jr. I used to watch all the time when I was a kid. Still have the theme.
I forgot that was a thing.
Oh, the theme tune to James Bond Jr. goes through my head at least once a week. Like, it's just in there. It's just buried in my mind somewhere.
No, the only spy cartoon I think I liked was Bruno the Kid.
Oh, I forgot about Bruno. Oh, that had cred, too, because Bruce Willis himself, man. But yeah. Did you have a favorite spy back in the day, Claire?
I'm not offhand. Although you've suddenly made me think of, was it like it's not a spy exactly, it's more a detective. But I just suddenly thought about was it Young Sherlock Holmes or something with a girl?
Ah.
It was a TV series.
It could
Somehow
be.
that just popped into my head.
Yeah. Not Enola Holmes now is like a Millie Bobby Brown thing like that.
Plus, we all know the best cartoon ever, though, was Carmen Sandiego. So.
Yes. No, that's the answer I should have given.
Yeah.
That kind of counts. I mean, she's a criminal, but they're pursuing her, so they're kind of...
And I still think of the tune from that, like, where on earth?
Yeah.
Carmen
San Diego.
Exactly.
That was the... it's been weird, too, because I know a common answer of people just slightly younger than us. The big one would be Kim Possible. But that was always just like, I was just a little bit too old for Kim Possible.
That's too young for me. I'm aware of it, but yeah.
Yeah, again, that's that thing. It's like, I'm still around. I still see the Saturday morning cartoons are on, but I'm not watching them. Like, I'm just sort of, it's like, it's like it's a girl spy, I guess. Yeah.
Can you include Alex Mack?
Oh, yeah.
That's because she did. She was quite the
She was
snoop.
doing investigations, yeah.
I loved that.
That was so good.
Yeah. Of course, Harriet the Spy as well, because literally in the name, But
yeah.
But of course, then the other thing that Mari Devon was in was Freakazoid. So
now going back to Freakazoid.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody who worked on this worked on Freakazoid.
And also should mention, won't get into him because he pops up in later scenes and stuff. But of course, Bob Hastings is the one here doing Jim Gordon, and I'll just bring it up to reiterate a point from last season because I loved it so much. Is that Bob Hastings did a lot of work, mostly known for McHale's Navy, which is a sitcom I never saw because very 1960s American show that never got repeated over here.
Yeah, we didn't really get super into American things till I would say late 70s over here. Maybe even later than that.
You got always random though. It's always like you got the Phil Silver show, Sergeant Bilko, but then not McHale's Navy or Hogan's Heroes. It's like no.
Yeah.
We got one. We don't need another, military-based comedy. Like it's just
that's enough American things for
now. Like, you give them Dad's Army, we get this one back. That's it. The deal is done. But no, Bob Hastings was also in the 1960s Batman show. One episode called "The Penguin Makes a Move," I believe it was called.
That sounds, again, sexy.
Yeah. It was one we talked about last season because it's also features Marcia, Queen of Diamonds, who was a lot of the inspiration for Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy. People, of course, might remember that she was played by Carolyn Jones, who was the original Morticia Adams. And then, of course, now we did a whole thing on Patreon talking about the Wednesday show and stuff as well. So, and specifically, that weird snake charmer dance Marcia does to distract guards was kind of then used inspiration for the Ivy striptease beyond the Marlene Dietrich hot voodoo scene as well. Kind of a combination of the both. But Bob Hastings appears in that episode as a military guy. I guess probably enough for McHale's Navy. But he's next to Alan Reed, who's his immediate superior. Alan Reed is, of course, the voice of Fred Flintstone.
I thought that sounded familiar.
Yeah,
yes.
And we brought that. This all came up when Fred Flintstone, like in the beginning of Batman and Robin, when Batman goes sliding down the dinosaur tail, and it's like, there's got to be connections between Batman and the Flintstones, right? Sure enough, that's the one. But yeah, and also bring that up to also finish out that circle. Arthur Reeves features very prominently in a storyline from the 70s. Called Monster My Sweet, which was a Poison Ivy storyline. And it served as basically the inspiration for what they were doing with Bane and Ivy. Is Ivy and Ivor, or her, is in the comics, like her sort of man toy, big muscle dude that she controls.
It sounds like her drag king name.
There should be a Poison Ivor, really, shouldn't there? Poison Ivor the Engine, I guess, or something.
Well, I suppose, you've like gender flipped a lot of the characters in various comics. Like, have they done it with Ivy?
I don't know if they have. They definitely should. I mean, I guess what you call him, Jason Woodrue, is kind of like that, but like,
I suppose though it tends to be gender flipping tends to be the other way round because everyone's sick of seeing men.
Well, we're just sort of like, can we get a bit more representation here? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, but we got to take Poison Ivy. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like a trade.
much like Mikhail Zavy and Dad's Army.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil Silver show. I watched. Weirdly enough, I watched the Phil Silver show. I've never watched Dad's Army. It's never appealed to me.
I never liked it as a kid because it seemed old. Whereas I reckon if I watched it now, I'd probably like it. I'd get the jokes more. But as a kid, you're like, oh, this is for like grandparents.
I watched it as a kid, but I think it was because it was on, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much I got it and was genuinely laughing with it. But I remember actually sort of knowing all the characters, and it's just that stuff. You just suck it all up as a child, don't you? And it's this weird thing that maybe it's just my family that did it though. Where in the intro they'd be like, "That one's dead, that one's dead, that one's dead," and it's like, this is kind of depressing, isn't it?
It's like what we do with this show.
I mean, it's the thing. Like, literally, some of my notes are here now that Kevin Conroy died 2022 November 10th. Then Bob Hastings died in June of 2014.
Everything's connected.
And Efren Zimbalist, we'll mention now in a second. The voice of Alfred also died. And he died within a month of Bob Hastings, weirdly enough. So.
And we've got Dick Miller, he's dead as well.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, bloody hell.
I think we did say that in the... Oops, sorry. Bumped my mic there. We did say that in the first week. Like, oh, this season is more mired in death than any of the rest of them. Because most of the major featured players of all the other Batman movies are all still going. This is the one where, like, yeah, a lot of these people are gone. Like, they're just, the main guy's gone, for Christ's sake. But
yeah. Oh, that's upsetting. We need to be positive. Come on.
We're at that age now, aren't we? Though, where we're like a lot of our heroes and stuff are starting to die, or not just starting to die, are dying mid-death.
It is sad. If they're not dead, they're turning right wing.
Yes.
And they're
well,
dead
they always
dead
were.
to me.
We just didn't realize. Yeah, exactly. They're dead to us.
Of course, then though we have the Reeves making a declaration about Batman being crazy, and we cut then to the Batcave on our new Alfred for the season, saying, "Such rot, sir. You're the very model of sanity."
That to me feels like he's getting a little dig in at Bruce. It's a bit sarcastic, isn't it? No need to roast him like that, man.
Oh no, I think it 100% is. Like, he's blatantly making a joke, like, because it's a very model of sanity. Oh, by the way, I've pressed your tights and put away your exploding gas balls. Like, it's fantastic. I love that he's doing a little, like, well, everything.
It's
you
a
do
little
is
comedy
crazy,
bit. Like, he says that exploding gas balls thing totally straight faced to highlight the absurdity of his life.
Yeah. and I love the way they've done Bruce's response is like he has a little smirk and goes like, "Thank you, Alfred." Like, and it immediately establishes their relationship in this iteration of the characters because they're always slightly different. Like, Robert Pattinson Batman. Like, we have then his Alfred is he's the proper, like, he's the grouchy Earth One version of Alfred, where he just seems to be exasperated with Bruce the entire time, and it's always Bruce kind of coming in looking hungover and like, "There's some fresh berries there," and this is only a partial sci-fi, and they're kind of always digging at each other the whole time. And if he said something like that, to Robert Pattinson, he'd probably just sit moping the whole time because he's just miserable in that movie. But if he said it, and then if he had Michael Goff saying that to Michael Keaton, I can imagine Michael Keaton just been a bit distracted. Like, he would get the joke, but he would just be like, "Well, oh yeah,
yeah." Alfred would be saying it to amuse himself rather than that Bruce.
Yeah.
I still think he kind of is, but this Bruce is definitely more present. But there's no need for the sarcasm and the little dig, really. Is there? Oh, you're the model of sanity. He's basically going, "You're nuts."
I think there's totally justification for it. He's doing his laundry all day long. He's basically brought him up as his son, practically.
Yeah.
Why can't he dig at him a little bit? I mean,
I really love that this really translated over into the Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons version too, because Jeremy Irons constantly giving Ben Affleck crap, and Affleck always smirking and just kind of taking it, and then then him always having little digs back too, like in the Zack Snyder Justice League. One of my favorite moments is like Batman introducing the Justice League to Alfred, and it's like, "This is Alfred. I work for him," and it's just like he has a little smile on his face as he's saying it, and it's just like, yes. So they kind of carry over that relationship. But yeah, I love I love that they make it very apparent what their relationship is straight off.
He does show his support for Batman by turning off the telly, though, because he switched it off. So he's saying that's enough of that, but then he's taking the piss out of him to lighten the mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know about support. It's like he accepts that this is what Bruce does. So he's not gonna try and stop him. He's going to be there for him, even if he thinks it's stupid.
I mean, supporting that he's not a madman, though, rather than supporting the Batman situation as a whole.
He's also like mentioning too that he's like, I folded your tights, which is like I've never worn tights, except for costumes and stuff in the past. But like, would you bother folding them? It just kind of feels like Batman's outfits are like, oh, that's one and done. You just make like a million of those because he is literally wearing tights in this version.
It's that he's pressed them, not folded.
Oh,
pressed your tights.
Okay, yeah.
So he's ironed them, which seems even weirder.
But you're both thinking of tights in the sense of like what people wear today. But I think it means tights like a wrestler calls them tights. They're like lycra. They're thick.
Yeah.
That's the kind of tights he means, doesn't it? I don't know if you would even press them, though, because the material, do you need to press those?
It could be.
I don't really iron, so I'm not the one to ask.
No, I don't iron anything. I just hang my clothes.
It could also be, though, maybe he didn't actually do that, too, but he's just wanted to point out, like, you go out wearing basically a leotard every night. He's actively pointing out, like, it's the fact that you're even going out in that is crazy because, like, you're fighting people. You ain't got anything else on, man. Like, one of the big things of this version of Batman is like there's no armor, like, and that's one of the things too. Like mentioned in the Earth 1 version of Alfred, Earth 1 been the kind of revamp they did with what's his name, Jeff Johns. And then the version of Alfred in that is constantly saying to Bruce, like, you need to go out with armor on. You goddamn idiot, because he's much more abusive of Bruce. So he's just constantly telling him what an idiot he is and he's not ready to do what he thinks he's going to do. And Bruce's classic response to that was like, you know what someone who goes out wearing armor says to someone? That I need to wear armor. And Bruce's mentality being like, oh, I guess it'll install more fear if they think I don't even need to armor up. It's like, that's all well and good until you get shot in the goddamn leg, man. And then you're screwed, so...
Although a lot of armor does restrict movement. So if you want to be like proper martial arts style, you want comfort and you want to be able to be, agile and,
Yeah. That's a good point. That's why a lot of, when you see these kind of characters, they'll be wearing a sort of thin armor, won't they? If any.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a bulky thing.
Yeah. Although then you get the Pattinson Batman, who's just like friggin' like a transformer. he's that.
Yeah, exactly.
The proper solid metal all over him and stuff. But, also love the line too, though, because it reminded me of a very specific thing, and then I had like, oh wow, that's a weird connection. When he says, such rot, sir. Because it's like, what, even the Beano? Like, such rot. Like, it's such an old-fashioned, it's like, Gordon Bennett, some rot has nicked the spotted dick. It's...
Well, it's the way Americans think of English people. They think England's posh, and it's like, no, it's the exact opposite. Yeah. I'm sorry to break it to you.
So I remember one person that I remember probably stopped me in my tracks. Because, again, the only time I would have ever seen language like that was in the Beano back in the day. And I remember one time being out on a field trip in university, and my friend Susie, like someone did something to her, and she went, "You rotter!" And I was like, "Oh, people,
what? No."
Yeah, and I was like, "No one says that. Like, that's not an actual term." But then talking to you, Claire, you might be the type of person who would call someone a rotter. So I don't know.
No.
Okay.
I've never heard that. That's crazy. Oh my god.
Well, no, I've only heard it's like C.S. Lewis kind of, Pevensey Children kind of stuff for me,
exactly.
like, no.
I think the only time I've heard it being used outside of like that kind of thing is when Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols said it to Bill Grundy on the telly.
Oh, that's right.
You rotter.
You rotter. You absolute fucking rotter. But I remember though, when I was thinking like, oh yeah, it's like Susie. Calling that guy that rotter, calling him, you rotter, one time. I remember her name was Susie Beaumont. I was like, what the hell? Like,
that's the posh. Are you sure you weren't going to like Eton?
No. She was very posh, but this is Beaumont, not the babe. But yeah, it links into the movie. He's like, what the hell?
There you go.
What's the odds of that? But everything truly is connected.
It is. Fate has brought us to this moment, to this minute.
Yeah, please no one look up Susie Beaumont, by the way. I barely know her. If anyone's out there who's some sort of demented, obsessed fan of the show, please don't go hassle people that I know. But yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up because I just love the I don't even would. I guess Michael Goff would have said such rot, but you know.
Yeah, that character would. He's the kind of character who would say that because he's a ridiculous, old-fashioned parody
he's
of an
older,
Englishman.
and that's something that would have been part of the language when he was young and stuff. Yeah, it's appropriate for him as a character.
I buy it, and I buy it with this Alfred because this Alfred's not like miles away from that one.
No. Although we now have to, we've had to retire the Goff voice, John. Now we have to adopt new voice for the new Alfred that's on screen.
I'm not doing it. I'm keeping the voice we've had.
So we just have to do like, oh, yes, such rot, sir. You're very marvelous Saturday. That's I just want
that
to
works better for me.
Just reinterpret it through. Like, such rot, sir. You're the very model of sanity.
I've got to say, this scene actually did make me think of Batman Forever, the scene with the laundry in that when Alfred's doing the ironing and, you know, Robin does his thing. It did make me think of that, which was a minute I was on as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
We kept that for you, especially, I think.
That would have been great. There was actually a deleted scene in Mask of the Phantasm of Alfred doing the laundry. But
it did make me think like it's the laundry in the Batcave. Is there like a second laundry in the Batcave so we can just do like the Batgear stuff? You know?
Oh, I assume so.
There must be, right? Because otherwise, if someone came in, the whole point is to keep the Bat stuff separate,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So it turns out there's a laundry down there.
He's going to go do some kung fu with the mop and wring it out with his feet and all that.
Exactly.
We get another bit of fun from Alfred, I think, because Bruce is talking about the shattered windscreen piece. You know, because he noticed the residue on it, and he's done a test, and he says it's a long chain macromolecular polymer. And then Bruce says of that, oh God, I'm going to mess this up. Adaptogenic, of course. And then you get Alfred coming back with, oh, of course. He hasn't got a clue.
Yeah, great animation because he's just like shaking his head like, oh, of course. And then Bruce has a little smirk of like, I know you don't know a goddamn thing what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Subtle shade again, though. It's kind of both ways. Like I think even from Alfred, it's like, of course. Like I don't have a clue about any of this nonsense.
Yeah. And I don't know if anyone attempt to decipher what a long chain dense micromolecular polymer is.
I tried and gave up.
No.
Yes, I did look into it. It was quite complicated because like a polymer is a substance of material consisting of very large molecules called macromolecules, which is where the macromolecular part comes in, composing of many repeating subunits. And there's examples such as like polystyrene is a synthetic one. DNA and proteins are natural versions of these sort of things. And it was quite interesting, actually, because it says that it has unique physical properties, including toughness, high elasticity, viscoelasticity, and a tendency to form amorphous and semi-crystalline structures. Anyway, but basically, it can be like latex rubber, has polyisoprene, I think it was, and neoprene, and silicone, synthetic rubber. So I think rather than being part of the gas that's on the glass, I think it is a bit of the clothing possibly. And that's why it's kind of bulletproof. Bulletproof vests have that kind of fabric in. So it's basically, super tough clothing.
That makes so much sense. As soon as you started bringing that up, I was like, oh my God, it's the outfit.
It's the outfit. It's part of the outfit from when they've smashed through the glass with their claw and all of that when they're on top of the car.
Way more sense too, because then you could also argue that like maybe the reason that now it's going to throw my my blanks theory out the window. But the reason, because then obviously Andrea Beaumont, like she's not a bulky 6-foot man, but as the Phantasm presents kind of as one. But it could be that there's layers and layers of this polymer, and that's why when she was getting shot in the chest, it just didn't affect her at all.
Exactly. That she's got this really kick-ass suit built of this whatever, some kind of silicone-y synthetic situation, and that's what's kept her safe.
Yeah, that's adaptogenic, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course.
That was quite interesting because I assumed that it was like residue from the smoke.
Also,
I thought I'd look it up and that's what I would find out, and then I looked it up and there we go. It was part of the outfit.
It solved an issue I had, because I was kind of like, it's a bit weird that this scene's even here, because I assumed again it was just the smoke.
Same.
And I was like in terms of screenwriting, Chekhov's gun kind of things, this never gets mentioned again. I don't think that they put a whole emphasis on the glass and the stain, and then him analyzing the stain. And it doesn't lead to, you think in other scripts it would be from that he'll discover that Andrea Beaumont's father used to manufacture something, and that'll put him in line of maybe she's getting, or maybe the Phantasm has something to do with that. Yeah. But I don't think it ever gets brought up. But now actually pointing out that it's the outfit, and that's why maybe it was bulletproof, would get rid of that issue, because it's just establishing little character moments for the audience to be this is these guys' relationship, and also to that's how. It's a bulletproof vest, I guess. So that's how it didn't affect them. So
yeah, it's a nice little bit of attention to detail on their part. I feel like they were we need to explain how it's bulletproof.
Yeah.
I think also it works quite well. Like we were saying about Batman being a detective before, and I feel like this bit's showing Batman as a scientist almost, and how intelligent he is. It's showing another side to him.
Well, Batman's a scientist. It's not Batman.
Got to get in our Simpsons references.
Of course. Oh. But yeah. Again, so already this movie is doing we've had proper detective Batman and we've had proper scientist Batman, more than we've seen in any other movies, really.
Exactly.
Yeah,
certainly more, as much as they're my favourites, more than the Burton ones.
Yeah.
Well, then again, there's one or two scenes of him at the computer like this in those.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we because people always throw the criticism of Burton that way. And I think we got very defensive in '89, going he deciphered the Joker's poison code. He was the one to say to Vicky Vale lipstick alone won't do it, but if you mix lipstick with hairspray, it'll become toxic. That's how you do it. Release all this dossier of stuff I found out. Take that to the press. So it's there he is. That's detective and scientist. But then,
and I suppose even Val Kilmer does a bit of that. I think it's just Clooney who doesn't do very much of it.
Val Kilmer is towards the end when he's actually sitting down, with Alfred figuring out the riddles and stuff. Yeah. Although I think it takes them ages to be oh, it was that guy who's I fired and is now my rival. He's the Riddler the whole time, and also
what
the big green light coming out of his tower. That's probably where he is. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, the one thing that did bother me with this analysis here was how he just dumps the glass into whatever thing he's got to look at it in. He just dumps in. It would have smashed. It would have shattered into pieces.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to give a damn. Just screw it.
And it really bugs me because I have actually done scanning electron microscopy in my master's, and you have to actually mount the sample and have it very still, and often make it conductive and things like that. You can't just go shove that in there,
Well, you obviously didn't have as advanced a microscope as he does.
Obviously, yeah.
And to be fair, he's a loose cannon, Claire,
Yeah,
maybe smash the sample. He can't even look at it, can he,
No, that's an excellent point. That I didn't even think of that. He just complete disregard. It's like archaeologists in the 19th century. Just blow it up.
Yeah, exactly. Fill it with cement after. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of, also we pointed out previous minute, but also black and white TV, then high insane science breakdown computer. What the hell? But why isn't it in color at least? Just give me that.
Maybe he just is he's a retro fan.
It could be. Maybe he's just very pretentious. He's it always looks better black and white. So
his favorite movie is The Lighthouse.
Yeah. Alfred coming, well, I know you're fond of the lobsters.
I had a black and white TV when I was a child.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, in my room, because basically it'd be the worst TV, it would sort of be the best TVs in the living room, and then it would work your way upstairs, and then I'd basically have the worst TV because I was the youngest. So I had the black and white TV when I was a child.
Is it one of those ones that's basically like radioactive and so it still has that little white dot in the center of the screen when you turn it off?
Probably. I remember it had very basic dials on it, so it must have been a proper old TV.
That's cool.
I remember watching TV on it, and I was old enough to remember, so I wasn't like a baby. I was. Yeah, so don't diss the black and white.
Yeah.
Although he is a grown up, so with lots of money, so you'd expect him to have a better TV.
That's a good point. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, I don't think it's being passed down to him the worst TV, is it? So
yeah.
Alfred gets the good ones, and Alfred passes everything down.
But should mention though, in the novelization there is a beautiful capper to this scene. Where they do the, of course, like that joke passes, and then Alfred then turns and says, "Dinner will be served in precisely 1 hour, Master Bruce. Do try to tear yourself away from your dense chains before the vichyssoise grows too warm." And I was like, "Whoa, vichyssoise, baby!"
Call back, woo!
And I love it.
Now we need to get vichyssoise to eat on air again.
Yeah, we should have done it for this episode, damn it. And then let it warm to room temp.
Yeah, we can do a comparison between how you're supposed to have it and a warmer version.
Yeah, but I love the fact that Batman Returns only came out in 92. This comes out at Christmas of 93, and I'm saying that no, that's a flat out reference to that. Like
it's gotta be.
Yeah, between then and then, because I think this movie only took 8 months to make. Like the novelization, the guy's probably like, I saw a Batman movie last year, and I really love that vichyssoise bit.
I love the way of all the references they could make. They're like, go with the vichyssoise one.
Yeah,
it's a good word.
Yeah,
it's a great word. It's great, and you know what? It was a lovely soup.
I just remember now though. The show didn't exist back when we first were doing the vichyssoise episode, but that sketch now, and I think you should leave of the guy eating the gazpacho. And like, they burnt my mouth on this. Like, I was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, it's room temp. It's like, I was expecting it to be chilled. It's like, how can you burn your mouth on room temp? It's like, well, I was expecting it to be cold, and that was warmer than I thought, so I nearly burnt my mouth on it.
Yeah, no, if you're not expecting it, anything could happen.
This is the anti-Bruce Wayne of just like, I was expecting it to be hot, that was cold, what the hell? But yeah, I had to mention that because when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, it's all happening. So, sometimes these novelizations, like that one's... There was one last season where it opened with Bruce and Dick eating lobster thermidor. And I was like, they have a whole big thing in the Lego Batman movie about him eating lobster thermidor. I wonder if they were referencing that. That's virtually no chance that was a reference to that. It's too obscure. But this is definitely a callback to Batman Returns.
Oh, there's no way this isn't. There's no way. It's such a bizarre soup to choose.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the notes I've got for this minute in particular. Does anyone else have anything, to talk about what was going on screen at all, or?
Oh, noted out for the minute.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but we'll ask Claire because this is the cartoon of our childhoods and whatnot. I was curious to what were your favorite cartoons back in the day? Like, did you have any? You mentioned you watched the BTAS as we refer to it, but Batman the Animated Series. But was anything else up there that when you were watching your radioactive black TV in your room? What was the thing that you were always turning the dial to?
Well, I as I said on the previous minute, I watched a surprising amount of cartoons, it turns out, but some of the more random ones, Gummy Bears is a classic.
We talked about it. There's some people who worked on the show worked on Gummy Bears, so we were talking about the theme tune last week.
Oh wow, amazing! Yeah, I loved that show. Potato Head Kids, did you ever see that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Never.
Yeah, you must have seen it. You're Irish.
I mean, maybe they were like, it's a slander in Ireland.
Like Mr. Potato Head. It was like kids sort of like looking like that kind of thing. But this was on when we were children. Because
awesome.
I had a VHS tape that had like an episode of Potato Head Kids, an episode of My Little Pony, and an episode of something else on it. Was it
in that world then? Because I loved My Little Pony, so I'm surprised I didn't see this.
Yeah, and the episode I had that was on there as well was them going to a museum, and there was like someone was pretending to be one of the Egyptian gods and like coming after them, and it was really good, quite creepy.
Awesome.
Wow. Other random I love Moomins, huge fan.
Oh, of course, yeah. Absolute classic.
huge fan of Moomins. Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah. I think we
didn't we bring that up in an episode?
Yeah, someone
well?
from the show also worked on Bucky O'Hare back in.
Oh wow, there we go. I watched a lot of Pokemon. That's obviously a big one, but I love that. The raccoons.
Oh, the raccoons!
Yeah,
Oh, man.
so good.
Just the end.
It was me saying last week I didn't see that many cartoons really, and now the ones you're mentioning are all the ones I've seen.
Yeah, exactly. When I went through them, it's like, whoa, like Real Monsters. There's another amazing one.
The end theme, Joe, to the raccoons was like the "Run with Us," the Lisa Lockheed song. It's a fucking great song. Like it's an actual just proper banger on by itself. And like that fact, that was a great big rockin' power ballad at the end of every episode. And you're just like, holy Christ, this song's better than the show. Like, what is it?
And there's one that people don't usually remember. Midnight Patrol, Adventures in the Dream Zone.
No.
That sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
I sort of didn't. I had to look it up to find out the name of it because I mostly remember that it was kids that would go to sleep and they'd sort of have adventures in their dream. They're trying to, and with this dog.
So it's basically Dream Warriors.
A little bit, yeah, but without Freddie. And the baddie in it would always speak to the phone on the phone with his mum, but you just sort of hear like the like not an actual voice. And he'd be like, "Oh, mum's here," kind of sort of situation. But that was a classic that I
was he Richard O'Brien from the Crystal Maze talking to
it had that sort of feeling. He had like it wasn't a cartoon, but do you remember his show that was like a weird thing
like
with people dressed as animals and stuff?
Oh,
yeah. Like the Ink Master or something like that?
Something like that was great. I used to love that as a kid. I always liked all the weird, creepy stuff. Basically.
Yeah. That's the Midnight Patrol now. It is just like someone saw Dream Warrior. So it's like, I mean, that's an idea. It was like, just take out that serial killer.
Yeah, make it for kids, you know.
This is gold, man. Then Dawkins coming in.
It didn't stop cartoons back then. I mean, they did it to Toxic Avenger.
Of course, yeah. Toxic Crusaders.
So good, yeah. And one more, Dr. Zitbag's Transylvanian Pet Shop.
Oh man, I forgot about that. I used to love that.
Yes, that was so good.
I was like, I think that was an English show, right? I think that was very like that was made by and for CITV. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was an American thing, but
I don't know. I just remember loving it.
I seem to remember it being English, but I don't know. We seem to have over here a morbid sort of thing for kids. Like, yeah, make it spooky.
Yeah. Or make it disgusting, basically.
Yeah.
Look it up here.
Anything weird, I was all over it. Yeah.
Let's see. It's created by Tony Barnes, country of origins France and the United Kingdom. So I think it probably was like a CITV production of some sort. But yeah, oh no, I remember again that now. I hadn't thought about that in years, but that's properly like again the theme tune just barreling into my head like Chucky Saul's car crashing into the window or something like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I end up going through loads of different cartoons. It was just like, wow, I watched so many good cartoons, man.
So people hadn't seen it. Like Dr. Zitbag's basically kind of did what it said in the tin of like he himself was kind of a monster, but then he had a pet shop that just sold crazy crap, like vampire.
Yeah, he just sold really random animals, wasn't it? Like random monster animals, basically.
Yeah, but like a skeleton dog. Or like something that'll suck your face off, this kind of thing. And his pet shop was a giant, like Transylvanian castle and stuff like that.
Yeah,
shenanigans occurred. Yeah.
We need to keep a log of all the ones people mention throughout the season now, and then we can do like a bonus episode on a few of them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for that, Clicks. Now you've just reminded me of so many. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what you forget, isn't it?
Yeah, holy crap! So many memories flooding back now.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, maybe beyond that, I'm noted out for this minute and this week. If you guys are,
we will.
Yes,
we will head off into the dark night. Claire, I know you had nothing to promote of your own, but you know what? Is there anything you have been into lately, watching, listening to, reading, that you want other people to discover that they might not have? You can use that as your promo if you want. If not, don't worry.
I've just gone blank, to be honest. I'm in the habit at the moment of just rewatching things I've seen 1,000 times. Although I am trying to watch films that I haven't seen.
I'm doing the exact same thing.
I'm trying to just do that a week, at least watch like 2 films that I haven't seen that I've meant to watch, just to start ticking them off. But yeah, I'm still drawing a blank. Although I will say that the Dark Crystal TV series was amazing, and I've rewatched that again, and I love it. They did a really good job of that.
And you don't need to have seen the movie to appreciate it. I don't think. I had seen the movie.
I think it actively, because there's revelations that come up at the end of the season that are like, yeah, I saw the movie. But if you hadn't, you'd be like, oh wow, that's a surprise. It would have been like, oh nice, yeah. So I think it's actively, because I don't like the Dark Crystal the movie. I love that TV show.
You're a weirdo, aren't you? Yeah.
How can you not like that film? What's wrong with it?
I just never got into it. And then every problem I had with it was fixed by the TV show, and that's why I was like, holy Christ, I'm into this. And then they're cancelled. So it's like, oh wow. But yeah, so I was like,
I'm still not over the cancellation.
No, that's why I would hesitate to recommend it to people, because like, well, it's going to break your heart because they got canceled.
I did already recommend to you giving that Jeffrey Dahmer thing a go, because it is actually pretty good.
Yeah. Although it is like
say.
I was just gonna say, it's like Netflix's 4th most successful thing ever. So it is.
Yeah,
I don't think it needs the attention anymore. It's like, it's got the attention.
But if you haven't watched it, give it a go. I haven't watched Wednesday yet, which everyone tells me I should. But and I love the Addams Family. I love it, but there's been sometimes when there's so much hype, it almost puts me off for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put you off, but as we talked about on our Patreon, it's fine.
That's good. I mean, if people want to find out our opinions on it, John, they can subscribe to the Patreon, right? And hear us talk about every episode.
Well, yeah, but our opinions on it are exciting and illuminating, and I think we make it better than it is. So go and check it out. Go and listen to us.
Yeah, I'll throw it just in terms of plugs. I should say, of course, because we talked so much this week about Dick Miller. People should go check out the Mogwai Minutes, one of our sister Movies by Minutes shows, and they did Gremlins 1 and Gremlins 2, obviously minute by minute, and they talk a lot more detail about Dick Miller, and of course, but also please, so that's our friends George and Neil did that, and then I believe also recurring guests of the show, Jarf, he's doing a song by song of Little Shop of Horrors.
I was excited for that.
Yeah, so that'll be out soon. Hopefully, it probably might even be out now. So yeah, people, I can validate that Mogwai Minute's great. It's like one of the best Movie by Minute shows. But with Jarf doing the Little Shop of Horror ones, you're in safe hands. That'll also be a great show too. So yeah, I'll give them a plug while we're here.
Hey, do it. And as usual, we'll plug ourselves. We're on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, Twitter at Bat Minute, Instagram, the Bat Minute, and why don't you go to the Sleepy Charlie Media TeePublic page? So just search us on TeePublic and you can find our merchandise. You can get this season's logo on a t-shirt or whatever you want. You can get old logos, you can get other shows' logos, all kinds. Get a Miami Minutes one, whatever you want. And do all that. You'll help keep the lights on around here, and you'll help us come back next week. Spoiler alert, we've already recorded it, so we will be back. By the time you hear this, we will be back on Monday with more wonderful Bat Minute action with Minute 7 of the Phantasm.
Next time, rendezvous, more like rendezvous vu. Old acquaintances organise an appointment and converse codedly about Bruce Wayne as an aviator named Andrea establishes an alibi from a plane. But as we disembark from Reeves receiving a ring, who of Gotham's Who's Who is attending the latest Wayne Wingding? Don't forget to RSVP for next week, Batmites. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Must top top,